Well, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and I am so excited about our guests we have here today. So we're going to be talking about our business community and our business environment, and I'm going to introduce two of the local businesses champions and a couple people that have been in Cottonwood for a very long time and doing a lot of good. So let me first introduce our traveling guest. We have Liza Noland, who is our Director of Rural Programming at Local First. Welcome.
Thank you.
And then everybody knows Christian, our Chamber Director. We're going to save some announcements probably till later in the show and talk about your organization and the name of your business and some different stuff, but we'll leave that as a teaser for later in the show. So I was fortunate to be invited to a couple meetings that the Local First and the Chamber have partnered on working on doing what I would call an analysis of our business environment and the needs of the business community. So over the last several weeks, you've worked with different business partners and really done an inventory to engage over 100 local businesses in different conversations. And we're kind of today going to go through some of those conversations, but it included, and I love the groups you guys picked, but women-owned businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses, and when we get there, we'll talk about that. A lot of surprises in that area there. And then you also talked about young professionals and home-based businesses, and then interviewed 74 individual business owners. So we're here today to kind of talk about that. So Christian, why go through all of this trouble? What led you to partner with Local First and to do this initiative?
Well, I don't know if you know, but we had a new city manager that came into town.
I heard. I don't know if we get to use the word new anymore.
I know it's not really new.
3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but during that time we were fortunate enough to have a lot of discussions and meetings about the chamber and our progress, and it kind of made us refocus our efforts. And unfortunately, these days, it seems like a lot of chambers can get kind of stagnant, and there's no doubt we were. So in doing that, luckily, my good friend Liza here, I've known for several years, we started conversations as well as, how do we refocus, rebrand, dig down deep, and service our members better. And that was really kind of the beginning of it all.
And it worked. I mean, you got the feedback you needed.
Absolutely.
Based on the feedback. So, Liza, before I ask you the next related question, we know what Local First is, and I was fortunate enough to be introduced to you and your organization when I first got here and all the work you do in rural. But for our viewers who may not know what Local First is, what is Local First?
Yeah, it's a complex organization. It started out almost 20 years ago now, and our founder owned and still owns a record store in downtown Phoenix. And she just saw the importance and started to see the continued importance of building connection to place through local businesses. And so she started the movement that I think Local First is, which is the commitment to each other, to buy local, to bank local, to travel local. And we evolved probably about 8-9 years ago into the foundation. So now we work on more of a statewide systemic level of looking at the systems that need to be in place to make buying local possible. Right. So looking at, rural development, the strength of our rural towns, looking at the strength of entrepreneurship across all cultures, across all, types of different business owners, ages and stages. And then looking at sustainability and food access. And so we've got a team now close to 40 that works statewide, mostly in and around entrepreneurship, and I work in the rural communities every day. So
we're excited to have you. So let's mention her name, Kimber Lanning, right?
Yes.
And she's been recognized at the highest levels in our state and as an expert in rural development and buying local. One of her passions is using local banks and keeping the money inside our communities and giving back to each other. So I'm very proud to work with Local First, and I'm very appreciative of all the work you do. So let's talk a little bit about this partnership and this initiative here. What would you like to add to the why?
To the why piece, I would tell you, same thing Christian said. I think that we really, statewide and nationwide, chambers have struggled as the business community, sort of evolved into the digital realm, and marketing transitioned so much into digital. I think chambers really sort of struggled to say, hold on, there's still value in interpersonal connections. And although, yes, you can get your own listing now online, right? The value of the chamber is so much more beyond just marketing. And I think this chamber, like many, struggled to say then, okay, what is that value? And so being able to come in and really take what has been the most comprehensive look we've done statewide at the needs of the business community in one region and one place, I think just helped to say, okay, if we're going to evolve, let's not evolve just to evolve. Let's evolve intentionally to fit the needs of the businesses.
I think that's a great reason. So how did you select the focus groups? They're great groups, but how'd you go about picking these people?
Well, you've got almost 500 members, right, that are members of the chamber, but 1,500 business licenses in Cottonwood alone.
Right.
And we said, who are members, who aren't members? And we had a theory, more or less, right? And why? But we had a theory that there were underrepresented, underserved entrepreneurs out there that maybe hadn't come to the table as often as others. And so knowing that in rural, there's a lot of home-based businesses, there's a lot of entrepreneurship at home, knowing that in general, women-owned businesses struggle in unique ways, have unique challenges. I've been a woman-owned business owner myself in a past life. That was of interest. Rural talent retention for young professionals is a critical piece of rural development. So we wanted to hear the voice of your young professionals and see what they had to say. And then knowing the deep Hispanic heritage of Cottonwood, we thought, how many Hispanic entrepreneurs are out there, and how many have we not heard from? And there were some shocking things in that. So
before we get into the results, let's talk specifically about a couple of those groups and the results, if you don't mind. So. One of the underrepresented groups that you guys worked on was the home-based businesses. And for the city, those people aren't the ones I often hear from, because there's not a storefront, so they're not, knocking on my door about a permit or different things. And so I don't hear much from our home-based businesses. So Christian or Liza, what did you guys find out about home-based businesses?
I think it's pretty challenging that really it's hard to find where they are and how many there are, right? So not every one of them needs to apply for a business license, so they may or may not have been on our list, right? That was a little bit more challenging, was actually to track them down. So through the list that we received from the city, we were able to filter some out, but Liza really, and her team was the one that really pulled that out and was able to interview.
So Liza, what did you find? What were some of the obstacles for home businesses to be successful?
Well, one, I don't think they see themselves in the community. So even in reaching out to them to come to the focus group, we just sounded like salespeople, right? They were just like, what do you want? I don't know. I don't know that we're seeing our home-based businesses at mixers. I don't know that we're seeing them out in the community in the same way we see other business owners, and they should be, Please come, come on in. But for the most part, being an owner-operator in your home, right? Growing, scaling, getting to that next level of business is a real challenge because you're not always as connected to the resources as a physical brick and mortar. Broadband, right, is just critical for them because, again, they're working from home, so they're not getting the business broadband services typically that you might be getting. And so making sure that we're strengthening some of that. Having time to market. Right.
Well, because they're working.
They're working.
Right.
Yeah, they're the only worker.
They're doing what they do well.
Yeah.
So marketing is a real challenge, and so building awareness of a business like that is tough. And then the interconnectedness of those businesses, even though they're home-based, their success is still based off the success of the community. And so we've got to get them better connected to that community.
Well, one of the things I love about home-based businesses, they're not on the roads. So they add significant value to the community. They have their kids and their family, so they're adding to the vibrancy of our community without some of the negative side effects that these other businesses have. So great. Hopefully we can help them, and we'll get to some solutions here at at the end. But another group was a women-based businesses. What did you guys discover in that group?
Lively bunch.
Right. I think very connected too. Really wanting to,
So different than the home-based, which was not connected.
Right.
The women-based groups, you found them more interconnected and engaged.
Absolutely, it was really. We had a great group. It was. There was a woman who owns a restaurant. So we had restaurant tours. We had skincare. We had heavy construction.
Right.
We had women in all realms, insurance. And as a woman, I can say this, but we are our own worst enemy with each other. Like, we tend to tear each other down.
Yeah, I am not allowed to say that.
Right. But it's true. And what I loved about the group we pulled together is they immediately were there to connect. They were there with intention to understand each other and to talk through that. They were an interesting group because what I saw more was professional development, an interest in developing professionally, running a tight ship in a strong operation, being a good leader and a good manager, and knowing how to be that for their own, for their staffs and for their businesses. Of course, wanting to grow, and really. Struggling with a couple of things. One, supply chain issues right now for our businesses here, women-owned or any.
Right.
But many who, when you're in skincare or olive oils or perfume or some of that, your packaging and some of that is so critical, and some of the festivals and things that are out there, many of them couldn't attend some of those festivals just because they had nothing to put the product in.
Right.
So
they had the product that they made, but they didn't have the container because it's on a container in the ocean.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. So supply chain has really impacted some of our smaller businesses. Really wanting relationships with the vendors and the bankers and those that they do. I think women by nature want to trust and connect with the people they do business with. So being able to have opportunities to build stronger relationships and truly being seen as equal,
Very good. Well, it's actually already time for our first break, believe it or not. So when we come back, I want to hit, because this was the most shocking to me, and that was our Hispanic-owned businesses. It was eye-opening for me. So again, this is Ron Corbin, and this Inside Cottonwood City Manager.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.com.
Need a ride to work in Sedona? Hop on the new Verdi shuttle at the Cottonwood Library and ride to all the major employers in Sedona for just $2. It's just that easy. Looking to get back to work? Sedona has jobs and the Verdi shuttle gets you there every 45 minutes. It's just that easy. Working late? The Verdi shuttle runs until 10:30 and offers a free after-hours shuttle in Cottonwood. It's just that easy. Check out verdishuttle.com for details or ask Google Maps for transit directions. It's just that easy.
Welcome back to another edition of Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager. And again, very excited about our guest today. We have Liza Noland from Local First and Christian Oliva Del Rio.
As long as I've known you,
I know, right?
I still can't get it either.
We know him as Christian, who is our director of our local chamber, and we're very excited to have you here, helping and supporting local businesses. So we were kind of going through some of the groups. We talked about our home-based businesses already. We talked about our women-owned businesses. The next group that I want to talk about is the Hispanic-owned businesses. And let me give a shout out to Sandra Salas from my office, who was able to help make these contacts. But Christian, tell us about what you discovered when you had these meetings with these groups.
Sure. So we were, like you said, very lucky to have Sandra come out with us, who knew a lot of the Hispanic community already. Right. And then Local First sent us Elamon Rodriguez from Fuerza Local. So Local First has a whole Hispanic side that they use. And it's a great organization. So Elamon, Sandra, and myself, we were out on the streets, knocking on doors, meeting people, again, going through the list of businesses that the city provided, and it was a little bit challenging picking out true Hispanic-owned businesses,
right.
but we were able to, and had a lot of great conversations, very warm and welcoming. Everybody very interested and excited that the city and the chamber were wanting to reach out, and we ended up speaking with at least 50 businesses. And
wow.
it was
that's
great.
A lot.
It was great. And then we had a focus group meeting and invited them all to that. And I think we had a pretty decent turnout there. There's still work to be done.
Right.
But a lot of the things that we found were, again, a lot of the similar challenges that other businesses will face. But also just access to business resources. There's definitely a language barrier. And so, in some of those solutions we found, we're going to try and build a Hispanic newsletter to share that information with.
Right.
We were lucky and had Ruth Ellen from SBDC there. Which Yavapai College also has a Hispanic outreach section as well. So there's some great resources here locally for that community. And
I think that they weren't aware of all the groups that it seems like they were the least aware,
right.
which is a failure on the city's part and everybody's,
right.
and the other people that offer the services. Because one of the things that I've learned in this community is there's a lot of help out there. Mm-hmm. We're just not always very good about getting it out, the information out
right.
there. There's a lot of federal dollars right now to help local and small businesses. So I know we're going to talk about solutions in a minute, but that was a group that I think has been underserved in our community.
Right.
So I'm very excited that you guys made that outreach. So thank you guys for doing that.
Sure.
And then there's the group that we all used to belong to. Liza, you look like you still belong to that group. That's the young professionals. And
I refuse to accept it. I'm in that group.
The gray makes me look older, but I feel young at heart. But so what did you find were challenges with the young professionals?
I think this is our rural epidemic at this point. They so rarely have, again, the seat at the table. Where do they get the chance to have influence, and what opportunities for their input do we provide? Cottonwood is not unique in this, but you've got a really strong group that I think thrives here. Mm-hmm. Your musicians, your artist community, there's a lot of young professionals in some of your key businesses in the region, and so I think they were hesitant to come. It doesn't sound like it's their group or their table, if you will. But we got them in the room and we said, what do you want to do? Just, we don't even have to walk you through the normal questions of all this stuff, but what would you want to do? And they would really love to have, their own group and some of their own goals and convene more regularly and have some purpose and intent in their conversations. So we're hoping to be able to just support the vision that they already have and make sure they've got the capacity to convene and build what they'd like to see.
Because they come with their own energy.
They're more
maybe that's where we're different. They do come with their own energy.
It seems like they're more project-based too. They want together and do things that actually matter.
What's the start? What's the end?
Wow, very nice. So then the last group that you guys interviewed and worked with, and that the last is not probably the right word because it seemed the most intense. You personally interviewed, spoke with 74 individual business owners. How'd that go?
Again, for Local First, this is a first of its kind project. We brought in our staff of about six of our people came up. We each did about 5 to 6 interviews a day for almost 2 weeks. And just had good conversations. We refused, and Christian was on board, to send an electronic survey. That was not what we wanted. We wanted to conversate, we wanted to understand. And such great input, from this business community about some of their challenges, the strengths, the weaknesses, and where they're at.
So, Christian, one of the things that I found interesting, and it's on our screen now, is the folks you interviewed, because I get accused of being tourism focused, Main Street focused, and people don't see the other work behind in my defense, but
I have
you
the
guys,
same problem.
yeah, but clearly that's not the group you guys interviewed.
Right.
You went deep.
Yeah.
So who did you
Wide
interview?
range of people. So you got finance and insurance, real estate was around 15%, a little less. Retail. We had professional services as well, and hospitality and tourism. So,
Right.
and then a wide range of
All the other.
yeah.
But all the others is what matters.
Exactly,
I mean, you got
yeah.
out there and spoke with the whole community. While most of it was Cottonwood focused, a lot of these live outside or in the Verde Valley in
Right.
general, and their businesses do business in Cottonwood, but their primary office may be outside. But
Correct.
these are all people that have influence and work and need what we hope they need or can benefit from our services, the
Sure.
chamber services
Yeah.
in the city. So that's very exciting. So this is where we start to get into the real meat of things. So what? You know what? Let's do a cliffhanger.
Okay.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the results of the survey,
Okay.
and we're going to talk about what we're doing well as a city and a chamber, and where we can improve. And then I'm excited. Then in our last couple of minutes, we'll talk about the future of the chamber. I'm very excited about
Me too.
the Christian where you're taking the organization. So under your leadership. So we'll be right back to another edition Inside Cottonwood.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.com.
Looking for a ride to Sedona? Hop on the new Verde shuttle at the Cottonwood Library and go everywhere you want to go in West Sedona, Uptown, and south to Poco Diablo Resort. It's just that easy. Looking for a better way to commute between Cottonwood and Sedona? The Verde shuttle buses are brand new. A cool, clean, comfortable ride for only $2 each way or $3 for an all-day pass. It's just that easy. Check out details at verdeshuttle.com or ask Google Maps for transit directions. It's just that easy.
So, welcome back to another edition Inside Cottonwood. I am Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and we have Liza from Local First and Christian from our local chamber. Thank you both for being here today. So we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left to wrap things up. So we talked so far about your interviews and the groups that chose, and the number, if I'm doing my math right, is well over 100 individuals and businesses that you guys interviewed. Is that a fair statement?
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of work. So we appreciate you guys working with the chamber, and Christian, a lot of work on your part. So thank you for that.
Couldn't have done it without them, really, and you.
Well,
Yeah, a lot of
again,
support.
your leadership, Christian, and we greatly appreciate it, and our businesses do. So let's get into the meat. What'd you find we're doing well?
Yeah. Well, what are we doing well?
Yeah, you know, you
That
can
was an
imagine.
awkward pause. I was like, is there anything we're doing well?
No, not at all. I would say no. There were a lot of strengths that came out of it, and just kind of hitting the high notes of it. You know, you mentioned tourism. It still came up as a strength because it does benefit all businesses. You know, new people coming up and exploring and discovering. Cottonwood lends itself to new residents and growth and new dollars and expanding the dollars that are in the community so that there's access to more opportunity. So tourism is probably the highest strength that was mentioned. The wine industry and some of the exciting things going on with the wine industry now, and even being a neighbor to Sedona and having that proximity to some of those benefits. Yeah. The second is, I think, an overall complementary belief that Cottonwood and the city of Cottonwood is intentional and strategic about continued growth, that it's not irresponsible, that it's not too fast, but you're also not stagnant. And so they appreciate that they see that you're making efforts to continue to grow in the right ways. And then a general sense of community between the businesses. If we truly do feel that you've got a well-connected business community, that they're supportive of one another, and all organizations of all sizes. So those, I think, were really important strengths.
Well, I love the community thing, and the chamber, we can thank for that, and our leaders in our community. They are not afraid to work with each other. But, you know, when I work with my city council, keeping that sense of community is one of their top priorities through this growth and all the things we're doing. But we as city leaders can't do all of that, because community, in my opinion, is about relationships, open doors, talking to each other, creating opportunities for communications like the mixers or the basketball court. So, you know, while the city, we get credit and blame, maybe not always due to our actions, but, you know, the work that you guys are doing is just another example of the community. And so I just wanted to, you know, that is such a big deal. So, all right. We're doing that well, but clearly you found some opportunities where we can make some improvements.
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
You want me to summarize?
Yeah,
okay.
you got it right there.
Yeah, I got the cheat sheet. Truly, the number one thing that resonated was prohibitive costs and process to starting a new business. So I would say the process of permitting and the cost of licensing seemed to come up over and over again, or vice versa. The other that we heard from sort of the local side of things was that there is a perception that there's more of an interest in the chains than there is in supporting the retention of the local businesses. And I found that shocking, because Cottonwood is actually one of the stronger communities in localism that I've seen. But I think to your general consumer too, it's almost a call out to say, make sure your local businesses feel appreciated, you know, city level, but also consumer level.
So if I can just add, that's the one that upset me the most, because I know that my city council does not believe in that. And so we're going to talk about some future goals, and I know their chamber will work on that. But we'll talk about why later. But yeah, I agree. That one was a little disheartening, given the efforts of the chamber, Local First, our council, Yavapai College, all working really to make successful local businesses successful. But yeah, that was a hard one to swallow.
And quickly to move through them, although they're very important, we're working towards them. You know, I would say too, the lack of control you've explained over some of the roads, you know, that they're not Cottonwood owned. And so the ability to create safe and vibrant roads and experiences there came up, along with workforce housing.
And workforce housing, which we're all working on. So, so Christian, since I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me, what you going to do?
I'm going to ask, how do we get together? But you know, the city really has been a great partner in this, and right away you stepped up with Tricia, and we're beginning. One of the processes was to build a list of how do you go about this process, right? How do you start a business? Where do you start? What kind of business? So that's going to be a really big help, I think. But you know, in some of the other areas too, we're wanting to expand and be able to engage more. We did a follow-up to this group, and we're hoping to build a business advisory committee that we can, you know, run things past. A lot of times we think we know what we're doing and what they need, and the reality is that we don't. We need to hear it from them. Right. So create intentional connections. So, you know, we've been working on that. We have some great partners in the city, SBDC, VV Rio, you know, the list goes on. We discovered that, you know, we lack capacity. We're a pretty skeleton crew, and after COVID, we lost our skeleton, and all we have is a bonehead left. So, you know, we have to grow in that area. They do a lot of great things. We don't need to recreate the wheel, and we can partner with them. So,
well, I'm excited about those partnerships, because that's the only way this is going to get done, and we hope Local First sticks around to help us with that.
Liza's not going anywhere.
But you know, Yavapai College, VV Rio, those are all partners that are already doing great work.
Exactly.
You know, when we talk about the cost of businesses opening and starting here, there's a lot of federal money right now, and so I know one of the things that Local First does is you guys help with grants and stuff,
Right.
and so I think getting that kind of word out that you're not alone.
Sure.
VV Rio does loans to help businesses get started.
Right.
The college through Ruth Ellen's office, they also help people find grants and loans and different things to get them started.
Business plans, everything.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
So we're going to do better at that, partnering together, Christian, and I
Absolutely.
think that I'm excited to see where that goes. So we're got to wrap up. We only got probably less than a minute, but Christian, what's in store for the future of the Chamber?
Well, we've done a refocus and a rebrand, and it was pretty exciting to me that in this group meeting that we had with the Business Advisory Committee is we put 2 logos up on the screen in that rebranding process. And you know, we originally were the Verde Valley Chamber of Commerce many years ago,
Right.
and we thought maybe we needed to go back to that. And what we found was an overwhelming no. We want to be Cottonwood, but we also want to recognize that we have an outside community, and so we've decided to go with the Greater Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce. So
Awesome, that's exciting.
And so it's real exciting. So
we'll be seeing that brand around and that title
Absolutely.
around. We're very excited about that.
we're
So
finalizing that process and everything, and it's going to be great.
awesome. Well, we're about out of time, and so I just want to wrap up. When you, Liza, so last question, not scripted, so I do this to all my guests, so thank you for not watching in the past, so you don't know. But we, as a city, have a motto. Our mission is to inspire a vibrant community. So from an outsider looking in, how are we doing? What do you, when you think of inspire a vibrant community, what is Cottonwood doing right?
Like I mentioned, I think a lot of things. Cottonwood really, for me, sits on kind of a pillar of strength. You guys have done great things. Your local business community, the local authentic experience that you've created here. I just feel like when you come into Cottonwood, it still feels small. It feels very connected. It's a beautiful place, pedestrian friendly. I gotta highlight that. And so, you know, I really see a true commitment to creating an authentic experience for people that live here and people that visit.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So, Christian, I'll let you answer that next time because
Okay.
we are out of time today. But, Christian, from the bottom of the heart and from the city, I really appreciate these efforts and reaching out to Local First and all the work you've done to help our businesses community. So, thank you. And thank you for both being here. Well, this wraps up another edition of Inside Cottonwood. I am Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and we'll see you next time.